So you've been dreaming about visiting the United States, right? Maybe seeing family, finally taking that trip?
Yeah, seeing the big sights, New York, San Francisco, all that. It's a great dream.
Absolutely. But for a lot of people, there's that one hurdle first. You know the one.
The U.S. visa interview. Yeah, it definitely looms large.
Can feel, well, pretty intimidating. Confusing, even.
Totally. Especially doing a formal interview in English. That's something so important.
Right. What do you really need to know? What are they going to ask? How do you answer confidently?
Well, that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive. You shared a really excellent source with us.
A guide, basically. Step by step. Designed just for this process.
hmm And we've gone through it, and it really breaks down, everything, what the interview is, keywords, example chats.
And some really practical tips, too.
Definitely practical stuff to feel ready.
So, our mission today is pretty simple. Unpack those key bits of advice from the guide.
Yeah, so you feel prepared, you feel confident, and
Well,
just clear on what to expect.
we'll look at why the interview happens, the words you absolutely need, walk through a sample conversation.
And nail down those essential tips. Basically, get you ready, step by step.
For real English, real answers.
And real confidence. Let's jump in.
Okay, so this guide, it starts right at the beginning. What actually is a visa interview?
Right. If you want to go to the U.S., say, as a tourist or a student, you generally need that visa.
And getting the visa usually means a meeting, right, at the U.S. Embassy or consulate back home.
Exactly. And the key thing the guide points out right away is the officer isn't just making small talk.
No random questions.
Not at all. They have very specific things they need to understand about you and your trip.
The guide boils it down to three main things they're checking. First, why? What's the reason for your visit?
Are you seeing family? Touring? Going to an event? Studying? They need a clear, legit purpose.
Makes sense. Second, how long? How long are you planning to be there?
And this has to match up with your why. A tourist visa isn't for moving there.
Obviously. And the third one, which the guide really highlights, is are you coming back? Will you return home?
And that is central. The officer needs to check your intent. Are you really going for the reason you say?
Does the time frame make sense for that reason?
And crucially, do you have solid reasons and a plan to actually leave the U.S. and go back home?
Which is actually kind of reassuring because the guide also notes that, yeah, the interview's in English.
But it's not just a test of perfect English grammar.
Right. It's about getting specific information across clearly. That's why knowing the language for this situation is key.
It's about accuracy and confidence in your message, not necessarily, sounding like a native speaker.
Which brings us neatly to vocabulary. The guide points out some words you just have to know.
Yeah, it lists 8 words that are, foundational. Knowing these helps a lot with feeling prepared.
Okay, lay them on us. What's first?
The big one, visa. Simple definition from the guide, an official document letting you enter a country.
So you need the stamp or the document to travel, but the interview is how you get permission for it.
Exactly. Next word, sponsor.
Ah, right. If someone's helping you out.
Yeah, the guide defines it as the person helping financially or taking responsibility for you in the U.S.
Could be family, a friend.
Or an organization even. The officer might ask about this to understand your support system, your stability while you're there.
Okay. Then there's invitation letter.
Just what it sounds like. A letter from someone in the U.S. inviting you to visit.
The guide says this isn't always needed for every visa.
Right. Depends on the type. But if you are visiting family or friends, it's strong supporting evidence. Shows you have a plan, people expecting you.
And the guide mentions bringing supporting documents.
Huh?
This would be a key one.
Absolutely. Now, here's a concept the guide really digs into. It connects back to that will you return home question.
Let me guess.
Ties. Bingo.
Ties.
The guide defines these as the things strongly connecting you to your home country.
And this is super important, isn't it?
It's critical. The guide explains ties aren't just random life facts. They're the concrete reasons you will leave the U.S.
Like what? What kind of things?
Things like having a job back home, owning property, a house.
Family who aren't traveling with you.
Exactly. Spouse, kids staying behind. These are powerful ties, according to the guide.
Okay. So when they ask about your job or your family, it's not just chat. They're actually checking the strength of your ties.
Precisely. The guide really links those standard questions back to the officer's main concern, making sure you intend to leave. Understanding that is huge.
Got it. Okay, what else? Assets.
Yep. Valuable things you own. Money, car, house, investments.
Stuff that shows your financial situation.
Which connects to the next term, financially independent.
Meaning you can pay your own way.
Basically, yeah. You have enough money or assets to cover your trip costs without needing, government help or working illegally.
So assets are what you have. Being financially independent means you can use that to support yourself there. The officer needs that reassurance.
Definitely. They need to know you won't be a burden or break the rules.
And the last one seems simple but crucial.
Return ticket. Your booked flight or transport back home.
Obvious, maybe, but having it booked.
And being ready to show the booking confirmation, the guide stresses this is really strong proof of your intent to leave on time. It's top of the bring documents list.
What's really cool is the guide gives little practice sentences too, right? Using these words.
Like, I need a visa,
Yeah.
or I have strong ties to my job, or I am financially independent.
Practicing those makes the words feel less academic, more real.
Totally. Knowing these 8 words and what they mean for the interview is a massive confidence booster. They're the building blocks.
Okay, so we get the why of the interview. We've got the key vocab. The guide then gives a real-life dialogue example.
Yeah, a sample conversation, officer and applicant. Super useful to see how it might actually play out.
Let's walk through it. How does the guide's example start?
Pretty standard. Officer confirms the reason for the visit. Something like, "Good morning. What is the purpose of your visit to the United States?"
And the applicant's answer in the guide.
Simple, direct, specific. "Good morning. I'm going to visit my brother and his new baby. He lives in Minneapolis."
Nice. Specific place, family connection, happy reason. Seems believable. Then the officer asks about the stay.
Yep. "How long do you plan to stay?"
And the example applicant.
Gives a clear answer, like, "Around 3 weeks." And then key move, according to the guide, immediately adds proof of return. "I already bought my return ticket for the 26th of March.
Mentioning the return ticket right then, the guide sees that as strong.
Proactive.
Very much so. Then the sponsor question comes up. Who is sponsoring your trip?
How does the applicant handle that?
Clearly states, my brother, and again, offers proof immediately. Here's the invitation letter from him. Follows that pattern. Statement plus evidence.
Smart. Which leads into the big one, the connections back home. What ties do you have to your home country? And here's where the example applicant lists strong ties. "I own a house, I have a full-time job as an engineer, and I only have 3 weeks of vacation."
Okay, so house, steady job, limited time off the guide, presents these as solid proof you have to go back.
Exactly. Concrete obligations back home. Then they cover money. "Are you financially independent?"
Applicant says yes?
"Yes. I have savings, a car, and here's my bank statement." Again, offering the proof the bank statement addresses that financial assurance need.
And in the guide's example, it all works out well. The officer says something like,
"Thank you. Everything looks good." And the applicant just replies politely, "Thank you."
but the guide doesn't stop there, right? It actually analyzes why those answers worked.
Yes. That's the really valuable part. The how to answer, like a pro section. It explains the strategy behind the words.
Like why saying visit my brother and his new baby is good.
The guide explains it specific, personal, understandable, makes your intent clear right away.
And mentioning the return ticket early.
Highlighted because it directly shows your plan and commitment to leave, addressing that core concern we talked about.
Offering the invitation letter without being asked.
Praised because, again, the guide stresses bringing and showing proof, adds credibility.
And for the ties question, listing things like a full-time job and owning property.
The guide emphasizes these are strong examples, concrete reasons you must return to your life back home.
And confirming financial independence.
Crucial, because the officer needs that assurance you can handle your expenses, reinforced throughout the guide.
This analysis part seems key. It helps you see it from the interviewer side.
Totally. Understand what they're listening for, what info they need to tick their boxes, basically. Connect all the dots, the words, the questions, the answers, the document.
It helps you shift from just knowing English words to knowing how to use them to make your case.
And the guide encourages practice too, right? Saying things out loud.
Yeah, pronunciation practice, speaking the phrases. Active practice is essential, it says.
Which leads perfectly into the final section, the practical tips from the guide for the interview itself.
5 main tips, and they really pull everything together. Number 1 is huge. Be honest.
Absolutely non-negotiable. The guide is crystal clear. Don't lie about anything.
They can check things out.
They can, and getting caught in a lie is way, way worse than just getting denied a visa. Serious consequences. Honesty first. Always.
Simple advice, but vital. Okay, tip 2. Be specific.
We saw this in the dialogue. Give clear details. Where are you going? Who are you seeing? Why exactly?
No vague answers.
Right. Vagueness raises flags. Specificity makes your story sound real and credible.
Tip 3, we've mentioned it a few times. Bring documents.
So important. Be ready to show proof for what you say. Return ticket, employer letter, bank statements.
Anything backing up your ties, your money, your reason for going.
Having them ready shows you're prepared and serious. It supports your words.
Tip 4 is about how you present yourself. Dress well and smile.
Yeah, the guide acknowledges that while your answers and documents are key, first impressions count too.
Looking neat and respectful shows you take it seriously.
And a simple, polite smile can just make the whole interaction a bit smoother, less tense.
Good point. And the final tip gets back to the language. Practice English before.
The guide really pushes this. Listen to English like, well, this deep dive.
Yeah.
Speak out loud. Rehearse answering those key questions clearly.
It's not about perfect grammar, we said that,
But being comfortable communicating the essential info in English, that's vital for confidence. Practice helps calm the nerves.
So listening to stuff like this, reading the guide aloud, practicing the vocab and the dialogue, it all helps build that preparedness the guide talks about.
Exactly. Those 5 tips, honesty, specificity, documents, presentation, practice, they really summarize how to put all the guide's advice into action.
Okay, so we've really walked through this guide, the why of the interview, the keywords, the sample chat, the analysis, and these practical tips.
It does a good job of taking something potentially scary and breaking it down. Manageable steps.
Yeah, gives you a clear path. Helps build confidence, not just in speaking English for this.
But confidence in knowing how to present your case. Understanding what the officer needs to hear and why.
It definitely helps you feel more in control, like you have a plan, armed with the right info, the right approach, all based on this guide.
So as you're processing all this, here's a final thought, kind of pulling it all together from the guide's perspective.
Okay.
Given how much focus the guide puts on ties and how it connects so many questions back to that, how does proving your connections to home become essentially the main argument you need to build?
Not just with words, but with the documents too.
Right. Throughout the whole process, think about how every piece of info you give adds up to that core message. I have strong reasons to go back.
That really frames it well, ties everything back to that central concern highlighted in the guide. Definitely something to think about.
So we really hope this deep dive helps. Go back to the source material, look over your notes, keep practicing.
Because feeling prepared, that really is the best way to walk into that interview feeling confident and ready.